A very warm welcome to you. Many thanks for joining us on this week's edition of the program. This is your one-stop shop for all the latest happening in the world of business. I am Susan Obiako and you are warmly welcome. On the lineup this week, first we join Faith and her guest, Sir I.C. Obwe, who was company secretary, Nicon Insurance Corporation from 1970 to 1988 on the CEO Rendezvous for the concluding part of their interview. In this rare interview, the 98-year-old said that the transfer of ownership of Nicon Insurance could have been done better to protect the legacy of the institution, owing that the offshoot Nicon Hotels, now Transcorp Hotel, is still surviving and wasking strong. Let's take a listen.
There shouldn't have been a drastic change in the operations of the management of Nicon, including the ownership. They should have allowed it to continue. Same thing with Nigeria Re. And if they have been allowed to continue, get the right set of people, trained, experienced, and if they have been brought in, operating as a government enterprise, I'm sure they would still have been there.
On this edition also, we bring you highlights from the 2025 Vanguard Economic Discourse, which was held recently in Lagos at the Civic Center under the theme, Nigeria's Economic Outlook, Hardship and Pathway to Sustainable Recovery. The premier event was well attended by policymakers and players in the organized private sector. Let's check our sound bites.
So this is very, very important from a trade policy perspective to use tariff instruments to support investment. The tariff regime in Nigeria is too high. Even for sectors where we do have capacity for raw materials, for inputs, it's something on which we need to engage very, very seriously with the administration, so that we see a situation where we de-emphasize this revenue generation mindset on investment.
But the question at the end of the day is that what we are ordering for, what is it? Is it for infrastructure? Is it for development? Is it to provide a inclusive environment for the businesses to operate, or for what? What we see in Nigeria is that the bulk of the borrowing is actually for also through governance, or what we call the current exposition, which is a mismatch, looking at it from point of view of finance. So,
what more can I say than to urge you to sit back, relax and enjoy the lineup. Details shortly, please stay with us.
This evening, we've listened to so many awards and their winners. Now is the Life Insurance Company of the Year. And the nominees.
Here are the nominees. Nicon Insurance PLC, Coronation Life Assurance, Sanlam Life Insurance Nigeria Limited, Custodian Life Assurance Limited, Capital Express Assurance Limited.
And the winner is Nicon Insurance PLC.
Thank you very much for nominating Nicon Insurance, and we'll not drop the ball. We'll keep on striving to be a good insurance company. Thank you very much.
Decision of government to privatize Nicon was the corporation's Achilles heel. Do you share that view?
No, I don't think they were. I don't know what they had in mind. They must have had in mind something, but it has turned out to be a failure. Nicon should have been left to carry on. For instance, we had investments here and there. And of course, we remember from something like Nile Merchant Bank.
Yeah.
I was on the board of NAL for about 11 years, representing Nicon Investments. I mean, you know, and who was also a board member of one or two other investments that Nicon had. And we got on well, and maybe they would have left Nicon the way it was, and whatever you get belongs to government, you know. But the change of ownership has spelled real doom on the organization. Because, okay, look at, I mean, each time I passed there when I used to, I looked at the building. We put up that building. And today, it's a building standing. I don't know whether there's anybody, or if anybody's occupying it at all. It's a pity that Nicon has to end up the way it did. To me, I would have said Nicon should have been left to continue running the way it was running. And everybody would have been happy for it. Yes.
Okay, sir, can you tell us a little bit, because a lot of people tend to forget that Nicon was actually the precursor of today is now Transcorp Hilton Hotel, but it was a Nicon hotel at the time.
Of course, it was, that's right. Nicon, and for instance, Goan was an investment expert. He came and went into some agreement for us to put up a hotel in Abuja. And it was then finally decided that it would be called Nicon Noga Hilton. Yes. Noga being Goan.
Okay.
Change the position, Nicon, Goan, but he didn't want to spell out the whole thing, so Noga. That was how it came about. It was built. I was actually one of the directors of Nicon Noga Hilton from the time they started the building until completed, and it was a beautiful day, the day we opened it in Abuja many, many years ago. It was a beauty to behold. So we went on and on and on until I don't know what gave rise to the man being regarded as a persona non grata to Nigeria. Yeah. He was kicked out of the country. Well, this is political something, nothing to do with us anyway. But then we continued at Nicon Noga Hilton until new investors came in to buy up the shares, you know. to what it is now.
Well, does it sadden you, sir, to think that something like a subsidiary that grew out of the Nicon insurance is still standing today, waxing strong?
Yeah, exactly.
And the brainchild behind it, so to speak, is there isn't much.
It is sad. It's a sad experience. Because that's why I said Nicon should have been left to continue with its insurance activities. You know, because here is a brainchild of Nicon, waxing strong, and they are doing very, very well. And but where is parent company? It's gone down the drains. It's a shame that people who took that decision to sell Nicon to whoever they wanted, they did sell it to, did what they did. It wasn't the best interest of the organization.
Okay, would you also say that the privatization or the sale of Nicon at that time was in any way beneficial to the Nigerian economy?
How could it be? How can it be beneficial? Where is it now? If it were to be beneficial, Nicon will still be around. Because it went into a wrong hand. I've forgotten the name of the buyer who, Ibrahim. We didn't know him from Adam. He was never an insurance man, as far as I know. But then, it was so...
Nigeria happened.
Yes. So, it's a pity. I feel very unhappy about it. What could we do? We unless we are to quote a Bola, let Bola again. See, we say, don't look. You know, may the soul rest in peace.
Amen. Yeah. Okay, sir, I agree. What is your personal assessment of the current state of the Nigerian insurance industry?
Well, I wouldn't say much because I've been completely detached from insurance activities when I retired in 1988. It's a long time now, you know. And, well, I had a friend who was my commissioner of insurance by name Chief Okwo, Eugene Okwo, when he was in service too anyway. So we used to discuss insurance activities from time to time. Not long after he retired too. So I had no means of assessing the performance or the activities of insurance companies. But I believe they are doing well after all. But I wish that Nicon were there to compete with them. And they maintain the name.
Okay, sir. Before we begin to round off on this interview, for Nicon Insurance at that time, apart from the fact that it was like a training ground for a whole lot of people, even CEOs of insurance companies today.
In fact, it was, if I may put it that way. It was a training ground.
For so many people.
Yeah, for so many people.
Even
True.
years after, you still find...
And also, that is a Nigeria Re as well.
Nigeria Re, yes.
You know, a Nigeria Re as well. But here we are.
Okay, but sir, how do you think that... so Nicon and Nigeria Re, good thing you mentioned it now, were the trailblazers. They were here before Ghana Re and all that, but you still find those...
No, Ghana Re. Ghana had been in existence before Nicon came in. Oh yes, I remember when they celebrated their 10th anniversary. We had just done about 2-3 years. So Ghana Insurance Company and Ghana Re had been there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they are still existing and
Oh, they are-
waxing strong. And
See?
the companies that came
Yeah.
before,
Before-
after them,
After them, yeah.
they're
Well, because of wrong decisions being taken by people who think they know better than others. You know, it was a wrong decision. That's why I said that Nicon should have been left to with Nigeria Re to continue the way they were performing and be a source of income to the federal government. You know.
But on the privatization or the sale, as somebody puts it, were the opinion of the likes of you people, were your opinions sought before that decision?
No, never. How could they have? Because I remember after I left in 1988. I think the following year, there was a mass retrenchment of Nicon management. You know, why they did that, I don't know. It was an unfortunate situation. You know, I didn't know the details, but it continued operating as people who succeeded, the management that retired, continued in any case. But that should not have warranted Nicon being sold into to individuals or a group of individuals who have no knowledge of the operation of insurance companies.
All right, welcome back. Moving on, we now bring you highlight from the 2025 Vanguard Economic Discourse, a platform that has been consistently bringing critical stakeholders together to discuss issues that affect the Nigeria's economy in a no-hold-bar atmosphere. This year was no exception. Happy viewing.
Nigeria's premier business and financial daily newspaper, Vanguard, recently put together its 2025 Economic Discourse in Lagos at the Civic Center. The discourse was organized under the theme, Nigeria's Economic Outlook 2025, Hardship and Pathways to Sustainable Recovery. Welcoming guests to the event, the managing editor of Vanguard newspaper, Mr. Eze Anaba, noted that the annual discourse is Vanguard's contributions to economic development.
Since its inception in 2017, the Vanguard Economic Discourse has served as Vanguard's newspaper's social investment in Nigeria. That is, our contribution to the national dialogue on economic development. It is a platform for thought leadership and high-level brainstorming aimed at providing insights and alternative approaches to help our public policy executives drive better governance of Nigeria's economy. You will agree that now, more than ever, Nigeria's economy demands more innovative thinking and pragmatic solutions. The current climate of reforms presents both challenges and opportunities that require informed strategic responses. This is why the theme of this year's discourse is ARMED, Nigeria's Economic Outlook 2025, Hardship and Pathways to Sustainable Recovery. True to tradition, this year's edition brings together a distinguished faculty of experts whose intellectual capital and professional accomplishment span the economic spectrum. Their presence here underscores our collective commitment to finding meaningful solutions to Nigeria's economic challenges.
In his opening remarks, the chairman of the occasion, Mr. Dele Kelvin Oye, President, Nigerian Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, NASIMA, said that inconsistencies in government policies poses a big challenge to businesses in Nigeria.
This is the biggest problem of uncertainty. Government will just wake up and change the rules of the day. And in businesses, if businesses are in a reaction mode instead of planning, nobody does anything serious. They are basically turning the economy from a productive one to a trading one. But it's only traders that can wake up in the midnight, they change the prices in supermarkets, they change one. But if I have a production line, you bought diesel yesterday at a certain price, you bought all sorts of inputs, we cannot do that. So it's very important that we know to say, within the next 1 year, the Naira will not exceed 1,500. I'm not saying the government should pay it, but at least if you say to us as businesses that that will be the threshold, I cannot take the risk and know that no matter how bad the policy is being taught, will be minimized. So this is what we talk about practically. And I can also mention the last tax day. The free trade zone, we only informed when the bill was already at the National Assembly. They barely had 5 days. And that is a $200 billion investment in your economy. You gave them 5 days to let them know that they have cancelled the rules of the game. But even annulling their own law under which they exist and moving to a tax bill. So these are the challenges. Nobody takes you serious when you are not predictable. And you have seen what they have got to the American Stock Exchange. Because every day you don't know what to happen. Every press conference there's a change in policy. So this is why there are these challenges.
Delivering the theme of the discourse, the keynote speaker, Dr. Yemi Kale, Group Chief Economist and Managing Director, Research and International Cooperation, African Export-Import Bank, stated that government must begin to strengthen social safety nets and not focus on reactionary measures in the face of hardship.
The stark reality is this: most Nigerians lack the economic buffer, be it savings, social protection, or institutional support required to withstand macroeconomic shocks, however temporary. Unfortunately, too often, policy responses, however well-meaning, fail to adequately grasp the depth and the immediacy of those realities. There is a persistent tendency among governments and early decision makers to underestimate the mere experience of hardship at the base of the socio-economic pyramid. We often respond not with foresight, but with reaction. So interventions are frequently triggered only after economic distress erupts into some form of social unrest, at which point palliative measures are deployed hastily and unevenly, rather than preemptively cushioning citizens against foreseeable disruptions.
Panelists at the discuss this year were Ms. Demi Samande, founder, Major Holdings, Dr. Tayo Aduloju, CEO, Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Dr. Muda Yusuf, CEO, Center for Promotion of Private Enterprise, and a host of others. Moderator of session was Professor Franklin Ungu, Director, Public Sector Initiative, Lagos Business School. Sharing thoughts during the panel session, Dr. Tayo Aduloju, CEO, Nigeria Economic Summit Group, said that in practical terms, there must be consensus and accountability between the public-private partnership.
So in practical terms, engagements must translate into consensus or action, contracts and contacts for delivery, accountability mechanism to check how we are progressing. Let me give you another example. In this country, the government said, yeah, incentivizing Dangote to build the refinery procedure. When refinery is ready, the price of PMS will go down. We didn't say it. Government or the Shah said it locally and internationally. No, today, refinery is ready with the capacity to produce 3 weeks of our 4 weeks consumption as a country at lower prices, right? High quality, and then stories then start. Now, it's that disconnect, it's not at the level of talking, please, but the level of the consistency of regulation, the consistency of the policy, the transparent execution of these policies with accountability and record. Well, on both sides, because you see, Dangote did not build the refinery. They should also hold Dangote accountable, right? That you give all these incentives and they wanted to do like the ways. Because by the way, in our last 25 years, there's times in Nigeria where the government gave unfair advantage to private sector entities who can do certain things. They became rich, but Nigeria did not benefit.
The Vanguard Economic Discourse, now in its 9th year, has continued to provide a needed platform for economic conversations.
That's our time on the program this week. Many thanks for being a part of it. Join us same time, same station next week for a fresh package. In the meantime, feel free to connect with us on all our social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Almond Finance TV. You have tons of video to watch there. My name is Susan Obiako. Until we come your way next time, from the entire team, do have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.